Alright everybody, so this Carveco video is going to be about just a very basic flow of operations, and that's it, a flow of operations to get from start to finish, whether it be from an image to vectors to toolpaths to carving, or you already have vectors. I'll show you how to import them and how I go through and machine. So there's not going to be much detail on each of the tools, or which tools to select, but more just a basic step-by-step flow. And I hope that kind of clears up some confusion with some people. Maybe you basically just need to have a vision of what you want to create and having an understanding of how to use the different toolpaths to get there. That can be a difficult process. But yeah, let's get started, and I'll put links to videos and things like that that I think are helpful throughout. Cool. So step one, just starting with an image, opening the file, getting the and I have this link is to Leighton's video on bitmap to vectors and the magic wand. Cool. Let's start with a image. File, open, click on the image you want. Don't start with it this big. That will crash your computer. And make sure you can change your origin later, but this will be where you set your X, Y, and Z during machining. I just usually leave it in bottom left. There's various reasons to change it, but for another day. Alright, so bitmap to vector, this tool here. Let's reduce the colors just so I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's say 8. That looks good. Cool. You can, at this point, mess with these settings. Leighton's video is going to tell you a little bit more about those. You can either create vectors, which works. You have to change these primary and secondary colors, but to get it to all function properly, but that looks good. And then you can also use this magic wand tool, which I use pretty frequently. Cool. So we kind of go through, I don't think I've ever gone through and not had to edit nodes to get things to the way I want them. Edit nodes, this vector clipping tool, the merge, this sort of thing. I've always had to. It's just the way images are created and how you want vectors to be smooth. Like if I were to go to machine this little bump would be in the carve, which I wouldn't want. So let's say I've spent all my time and got this to be nice and neat. We save it. You can export the file as a vector, or you can just continue on your way. So let's say I've got it all nice and clean, and I have a file that is already ready to go for us, an SVG file. So next step, creating either starting from scratch or we already have a vector file. And I'm here. Let's start with this guy. All right, so let's actually get rid of this. All right, so I've already said I have kind of my vectors already kind of ready to go for us. But you can also vector import, and you can click on the SVG or DXF or I think it's EPS. There's a whole list of them down here, but any of those will do the trick. So I've already got my vectors in here and looking like I want them to. The next step is defining our toolpaths and how do we want this to look. So let's say I want to machine the dark orange down about 1/10 of an inch so the yellow looks raised. I also want to pocket clearance in here around all these letters, and then I'll do a profile cut. Maybe we even put a bevel on this on the edges here. I think that would look pretty nice, and this is going to be a clock eventually. Alright, so next step, I've got my vectors into layers. Leighton's got a video on that. It can get confusing if you select different things, but let's just start with let's turn this off. Let's start with the clearance on the orange. Cool, so let's select all of those. You can also right click, select all. And we're going to use a clearance toolpath on this area clearance. We want it to machine down 0.1. We're going to use an 1/8 inch end mill. These tools, there's hundreds of them. Learning what type of tools and how to select the proper one comes with time and practice, to be honest with you, and how to run each of those tools. That's a whole different video, but for now let's just use that guy and we'll use the default settings on that. This little question mark up here can explain exactly what each of these options does. Moving down, we machine safe Z. That'll be the height above your rapids movements, and then your home position, your XYZ 0 home, what height it's gonna return to. Material thickness, you need to have your material to do this. Obviously, 0.1 or 1 inch. I'm using top of block. You can also use bottom of block. Let's call this dark yellow clear. And okay, why is that? Let's see. Sorry about that. I thought these were ready to go. Vector loops. Alright, there we go. Should be good now. Alright, so now that machined down 1/10 of an inch. I'll show you what that looks like. Cool. So see, we've machined down 1/10 of an inch. Get rid of that for the time being. And we'll turn these off. Okay, so the next one I wanted to machine clearance tool around all of these, around the letters and around in the circle there. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Use these and this. Let's do a little bit of editing here. Whatever I just did, that's not cool. let's say, all right. That should work fine. Let's go one more. Let's machine this. Again, this video is just a flow of how to get from step 1 to step 10, whatever you want to call it. And looks like we need to add a 1/16 inch end mill on that. There we go. Now it gets in all these little details. Cool. Let's show you what that looks like. Alright, that's not bad. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and add our bevel to the outer layer. So not the perimeter. Light yellow, dark yellow. Alright, apparently that's not going to work. And we'll call that bevel 60 for a 60-degree V-bit. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. And let's see what that looks like. Cool. Alright, next up, let's do our profile cut. And we already know that we've set up our material, it's 1 inch. Let's use an 1/8 inch end mill. And we'll call it profile. Calculate. Cool. There we go. Cool. So that looks pretty good to me. Probably have to adjust this a little bit to get it to exactly like I wanted it, but I think that looks kind of cool. With that bevel, I gotta figure out how to get it on that edge there, but you get the idea. Alright, so now we've got our piece ready to save our toolpaths. We've got 4 toolpaths here. We've got our clearance for the orange. We've got our a clearance for around the letters. We have our bevel, which is around the edges. And then our profile cut, which cuts the whole piece out. Now, we need to save our toolpaths. Right-click toolpaths. You can save these individually as well, but I just click right-click, save toolpaths. Make sure that these are in the order you want them to be. It's not terribly important, but you definitely want to know which. You should have an idea of which order you want to do these in. You don't want to do the profile cut first and be like, and then cut out your piece, and then you're totally screwed. So just know that which order they go in. I personally, sometimes you have the option to save them all in one G-code file. I like to save them all separately. It can save some headache. It might take you a few extra minutes, but personally, I like to save them all separately, and you can use that with that toolpath here, and then this append toolpath details to file names, that'll add what the name is and the tool you're using. Then you want to browse to where it is on the drive, on your drive. Name it. You can name it as I name mine exactly that way. I have the .art file, and then there's hundreds of different G codes here, and find your specific machine and what CAM program you're using to control the software. So mine's Carbide, so inches.nc, and you save them. Cool. So I'll save these and show you that. Alright, cool. Save them. Close this. At this point, we can close this as well. Machining. This is, now you're going to open up Carbide Motion or CNCJS or whatever program you're using, and at that point, you'll be prompted, okay, load the G-code file. You'll navigate to wherever your G-code files are, and mine are right here. You can see toolpath 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It labeled them exactly how I wanted it to, so hopefully I don't screw that up. Then you load it. You secure your material to the bed. Make sure it's nice and square up against the fence or whatever you're using. You're going to navigate to the XYZ 0 point. We set ours up at bottom left, and that sort of thing. You're going to insert the proper tool, and then you're kind of ready to start machining. I don't have my machine, so I can't really video this portion, but I suggest going through Leighton's basic videos. If you get stuck somewhere, just ask for help, or try and figure it out, and then ask for help. There's a few videos here I have links to, and hopefully this helps a little bit. I just really wanted this to be a basic video. Step 1 to step 10, not about actually machining it. That's a whole different video, I guess. I think maybe the flow chart might help. But yeah, let me know if you've got questions.